There are people all over this country that haven't had answers, haven't had justice, but now they will. And so even though it was delayed, it will not be denied.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Dana Morris. We start tonight in Ector County, where a detained serial killer is the focus of a cross-country investigation and one with ties to Odessa. And that is because accused killer right here, 78-year-old Samuel Little, is ready for his murder hearing. Tonight, Samuel Little sits in an Ector County jail. Though less than 24 hours, he'll have his first hearing on murder charges for the killing of Denise Brothers in 1994. Brothers was a 38-year-old mother living in Odessa when she was killed, and she is just one of a possible 90 victims that Samuel Little has confessed to killing. Now, authorities say they've already confirmed 30 of those kills after Samuel Little detailed information that only the culprit would know. And if he is convicted of all those or confirmed on all of those murders, he would be considered the most prolific killer in modern U.S. history. Now, when we say most prolific killer, here's some perspective as to what we mean. We know that Ted Bundy confessed to 30 homicides from 1974 through 1978. Next would be John Wayne Gacy, who confessed to killing 33 boys and young men in the 1970s. And Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, was convicted of 49 murders between the 1980s and 1990s. So just how did Little get himself caught in the first place? Well, here's a look at the events that landed him behind bars here in Ector County.
We start back in September 2012 when Samuel Little was arrested in Louisville, Kentucky for possession of a crack pipe. And when investigators tested DNA from that pipe, they found it matched with a trio of cold cases from Los Angeles. And within 2 years, in 2014, Little was tried and convicted for murdering 3 women, and in turn was given 3 life sentences in prison. At this point, due to the style and nature of the killings Little was convicted of, authorities in several states started looking into Little as a possible suspect in other cold case murders. One of those agencies was the Texas DPS and their investigator, Ranger James Holland, who requested to move Little from California to Wise County, Texas, where he was a suspect in a murder from the 1980s. In this time, Texas Ranger James Holland worked with Little and built a rapport with the convicted killer, which led Little to confess to dozens of murders from across the country. And while it turned out that Little didn't appear to be guilty of the 1980s Wise County murder, one of the murders Little confessed to was Denise Brothers of Odessa, back in 1994. This led authorities to indict Little and bring him to Ector County to stand trial for the cold case murder, where the convicted killer waits now.
And as for the victim who died at the hands of Samuel Little in Odessa back in 1994, here's a little more on who she was and how she was found. Denise Brothers was again a 38-year-old mother living in Odessa when she crossed paths with her killer. Authorities say she was strangled to death and her body was found in bushes behind an abandoned building near 2nd Street and Van Street. Investigators later determined the killer used his bare hands to commit the heinous act. Now, this all follows suit with law enforcement reports from across the country that say that was Samuel Little's signature style of killing, which was to lure women in and then strangle them to death, sometimes sexually assaulting them, though investigators have said Denise Brothers was not sexually assaulted. And the Brothers family may not be the only family getting answers as this case unfolds. Here are some of the faces of the dozens of victims who may have been murdered by Little. And now across the U.S., a number of law enforcement agencies are trying to confirm Little's murder spree with their own cold cases that range from the years of 1970s all the way to 2005 in hopes to bring peace to those families. Now, as these confessions from Samuel Little have come to light, authorities have lauded the work of Texas Ranger James Holland. But who exactly is this man? Newswest 9's Phoenix O'Connor has more on the specialized investigator.
Like you said, Dana, Texas Ranger James Holland, he got Little to confess after decades of silence. Now, this man is not your average officer. He's only one of 7 that's appointed to the Unsolved Crime Investigation Program. Now, they handle cold case murder investigations with links to serial killers. Many of those uncrackable cases have already been looked over by many investigators for years. In previous interviews, Holland has said he specializes in interviewing sociopathic and psychopathic individuals. Through his work, he's able to rapport with the suspects and bring closure to many families.
Samuel Little has been working with law enforcement agencies across the country through Ranger Holland. and he's confessed to over 90 murders in this country, and over 30 of those have been confirmed so far.
Now, during his career as a Texas Ranger, he was responsible for cracking dozens of unsolved cases right here in the state of Texas, many times collaborating with law enforcement in Pennsylvania and in Oklahoma. Now, we did reach out to DPS officials, and they say that Holland, he's unable to speak about this ongoing case, but we do expect him to see at tomorrow's hearing.
Thanks, Phoenix. And again, Little's hearing will begin at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow at the Ector County Courthouse. He's facing murder charges, not capital murder, so he will not be eligible for the death penalty. And make sure you stay tuned with Newswest 9 tomorrow, as we'll have full team coverage on this developing story throughout the day.